Aloha. Welcome.
Well, this is because we're going to Africa. Aloha is probably
It-
very inappropriate.
I think it's inappropriate. Well, I was going to say
Hajambo.
I thought it was Jumbo, but apparently I heard it was Hajambo.
This is the most Katie thing I've ever heard. Like, you love to take language, and you're like Shakespearean in the way you like tease out words and you
Make it my own.
reassemble them into your own language. Like, you got me in trouble in Germany because you kept saying no donks. And so I said that to our friends, and I just got this blank stare. So, hey, friends, guess what? Welcome to Exploragonians. This is a travel misadventures podcast, and I am Jordan, your co-host.
And I'm Katie, and this week we are bringing somebody in.
Because we are going to a continent neither of us have been to, but we want to explore. And so this week we are going to the East African country of Tanzania.
Tanzania. I don't know.
I thought you might go into like Circle of Life, go with the Serengeti thing.
Oh.
Nazagonia.
Well, if we're going with the it's like Serengeti. No?
Yeah, but Africa, that's a crazy song.
Crazy good time.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around. This is a sweet episode. We hear about the gift of guacamole to the people of Tanzania. We hear about a third-class boat room that's full of bushels of bananas. We hear about another boat ride.
Everybody's puking.
Everybody. So stick around, and we're going to find out all about Tanzania.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Jessica, you look sunburnt.
Oh, I am.
Do you need some aloe?
No, I don't think it's so new that I think.
Oh, it's a fresh one. Would you like ibuprofen?
It's fresh from today.
Yeah, no, it definitely looks rosy.
Oh, nice. It's just that glow. You have the.
We were in the sun a long time.
No.
I was like, oh.
Friends, esteemed colleagues, we are attempting to be professional, and I'm just making everybody laugh because this is very awkward.
Jessica cannot take it seriously.
Who is Jessica, that which you speak?
And we are also sharing one microphone.
It's very romantic.
Jessica is
A mic stealer.
Jessica is my cousin. She is a lovely human being.
She is 6'8".
She is a world traveler.
She is a member of the Portland Trailblazers basketball team.
And she is our guest.
Welcome, Jessica, to Exploragonians Travel Misadventures podcast. What's up?
Oh, thank you so much.
It's very nice to have you. So today we are wanting to get you in here because we have yet on this podcast or in life, Katie and I, we've never been to Africa. But this is something that you have done. You have been to Africa. Where have you been?
I've been to East Africa, specifically Tanzania, including Zanzibar, which is part of Tanzania. And I also spent a little bit of time in Kenya and Uganda.
Wow.
How long were you gone?
Duh.
Uganda.
Wow. I was gone for 8 weeks total.
So why did you go?
So in college, that's bad grammar. My friend and
There's the door, Jessica. You may leave.
My friend Maddie and I decided to take a new language that wasn't Spanish, and we landed on Swahili because it was a language class you could take 5 days a week, just like French and Spanish. And we didn't think we had the discipline for self-study.
So you felt like you needed a guide, you needed like classroom support.
Yeah, to hold us accountable. And, it's like fun to have a class, a language class. That's what we missed. And, our language teacher, Marco, was the best. He was insane. And, but after going to Tanzania, he made a lot more sense.
So were there other languages that you considered?
Arabic was another one you could take 5 days a week. But we were like, another alphabet? Too hard.
Well, okay, so you talked about it. So Swahili. So I did not know this, but in my little, Britannica encyclopedia.
Research?
Yeah, my research. I found out that Swahili was actually greatly influenced by Arabic. Is that something that you covered in class?
Yes.
Okay.
So Swahili is the trade language of Eastern Africa. And so it has influences of Portuguese, Arabic, German, and English, in addition to the local Bantu languages, which are what are like the more traditional African aspects. So there's certain words that are just straight up Arabic words that are in Swahili, but there's also like Portuguese words.
That's really cool. I feel like at some point Swahili changed from being an Arabic script because apparently, like in the 18th century, they like the oldest preserved literature that is in Swahili is in Arabic, and so at some point they switched alphabets to the Roman one. So I'm glad that you were able to do that and not have to learn a new alphabet.
Yeah, I'm sure it was the missionaries from Germany and England.
They
were
wouldn't
like,
do
let's
that."
write our own language style. Yeah.
Aw. So you were there for 8 weeks, and so you land in Tanzania. So were there other options of countries to go to?
So the reason I went on my trip to Tanzania was I did a group projects abroad, which is a Fulbright Hays Fellowship, which basically the government, I don't know if they still do this, but they wanted to encourage people to learn lesser known languages. And Swahili is one of them. And so they basically paid for the entire trip. I pay $1,000. And that included my airfare, my like food and lodging for those, 7 weeks. And then the last week was an extra week where I just traveled on my own. But so it was amazing. And so that's why I went to specifically Arusha in Tanzania is where I was living for those 7 weeks.
So you called it Arusha.
Mm-hmm.
So geographically, where are we in Tanzania?
So in Tanzania, if you're Kenya's above Tanzania, and then to the west,
The Indian Ocean.
no, to the east is the Indian Ocean. To the west is Lake Victoria, kind of on the northwest corner of Tanzania. And so Arusha's pretty close to the border with Kenya. I think it was like an hour to the border. And I would say, I wonder how accurate this is, about halfway between the Indian Ocean and the lake. And it's right where near Kilimanjaro. And that's a lot of people go there to climb Kilimanjaro from Arusha.
Wow. So you mentioned Kilimanjaro. Did you climb it?
No, but my friend Maddie, who we took the language class together, she'd been living in Dar es Salaam, the main city in Tanzania, going to school there for the year. And her family came to climb Kilimanjaro with her the week I got to Tanzania. So I saw her that first week right before they climbed Kilimanjaro.
Wow. How'd she do?
She did great. She's, athletic, and it was no problem. She ran up that mountain.
So is that one of the things that you regret is not doing Kilimanjaro?
No, I don't regret it. It didn't really make sense for my trip. But I mean, I would like to do it. In fact, my cousin Georgia just did it recently, climbed Kilimanjaro.
Is she doing the 7 summits?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, she's got 2 off her list.
I think she just got the opportunity to go with a group to go to Tanzania and climb Kilimanjaro, so she took it.
She just wants to be like you. Well, except for climbing Kilimanjaro.
So, yeah, Mount Kilimanjaro, for you readers at home who aren't aware, it is the tallest peak in all of Africa. It's over 19,300 feet tall. We could do meters, but we're not doing the metric system. That's disgusting. Also, Mount Kilimanjaro, only a 4.5 on Google.
What? I haven't been, but I'm outraged.
I don't know what I didn't read any reviews. I should have read a review, actually.
Yeah, you should have read the
So
1-star review of Mount Kilimanjaro.
were you able to see it like in the village you're in?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like every day.
If it wasn't too cloudy, it was very overcast at Arusha. Arusha is like, yes, you're close to the equator, but it's like high 60s, low 70s.
Wow. So
rainy.
Were you nervous climate-wise thinking about going to Tanzania?
I was nervous about the mosquitoes because mosquitoes are attracted to me and I get a lot of mosquito bites. And so I was afraid of getting malaria. So I had to take my anti-malaria medication the whole time. And I was very diligent about putting on like bug spray. But in Arusha, because you're at this high, part of the reason it's so cold is because you're at a high altitude because you're near the mountain. There wasn't that many mosquitoes, which meant by the time I got to the coast where there were lots of mosquitoes, I had let my guard down and ended up getting eaten alive.
Down by a body of water.
But it's funny, in Tanzania, my host family, they had a woman that lived on site that was like their like maid / cook, basically, Miriam. And when she got sick, she was like, "Oh, it's probably malaria." But the way that she said it was just like when anyone's like, "Oh, I probably have a cold," it was like, "Oh, I have malaria."
Oh, God.
And so it was like
Sweet.
unclear to us whether she actually did have malaria or if they just like when anyone gets sick, they just like assume it's malaria.
I mean, unrelated, when we were in Thailand on the islands, like, Katie got stung by some large insect thing.
On the tuk-tuk. I mean, it was just like...
The tuk-tuk that could not go
get
up a hill.
It couldn't get up the hill, and it was like, do we need to get out so we can make it? Anyway,
Push
and
it up there.
I felt like a prick go into my thigh, and it was like a needle, right, being jabbed. Anyway, yeah, I was stung by something.
That's called a fairy kiss.
Wow.
But we get to like the hotel we're staying at, and it's run by like this Australian couple, and the guy's like, I think anything that could get you here is I don't know, he's Scottish now. He's gonna be Scottish. Anything that could get you here, I treat that as lethal. That's my Australian.
Anyway,
I'm going to jail for my accents.
It was
This is
so
terrible.
good.
Thank
was so
you.
good.
Thank
Straight out of
you.
Melbourne.
I was gonna say it's like Flight of the Conchords, and it's not. Yikes.
Wow.
Those are
Okay.
Kiwis.
So I mean, I know when you travel abroad, especially like Africa is probably good for this. Like, did you have just like a ton of like medications and vaccines you needed to do?
I had to get vaccinated for like yellow fever and like catch up on my hepatitis because I think I was behind on like the normal vaccines. But the
up
only
on
one
my
I remember specifically that I needed for Tanzania, other than the normal, was yellow fever, and I think maybe one other one. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but it wasn't that bad. But yeah, it was like get your vaccines in order and get a anti-malarial drug.
Wow. I was just gonna ask, like, what was like kind of like day in the life? So you get there.
So the program I was on was the purpose was to advance our language skills. So we went to class every day. And so the way they structured it was that we lived with host families, and our host families had at least one of our host parents worked at the school. So in my case, my host mom was the secretary at the school. And so we took the like staff like carpool van to get to school. And so we were like with all the regular people who worked at the school.
What kind of van are we talking about?
So the one I took was like a passenger van kind of. It wasn't like a huge, but I mean, it wasn't like a bus, I don't think. Now I'm like, ooh, was it like a short bus? It might have been a short bus. But we had to go
Wait, excuse me. Who's we?
okay, so it was me, my host sister, or my family sister who was from the program, Joy, who was from Florida, and then our host mom in the morning when we took the van with her. We would walk down the hill from the house, and that was like probably a 15-minute walk to get basically down to the main thoroughfare that like leaves Arusha, because the school was in USA River, which is spelled USA River.
What? Is there a story there?
I don't know why it's called, or I mean, it's called USA River. It's not like USA, but it does. They're like, haha, USA.
Wow.
So we would walk like the 15 minutes down, get on the staff either van or short bus. I honestly don't remember.
The bus.
And there would be like, I think at least 10 other people on the bus with us. And we would go to school, and we'd get there, earlier than the other classes because the people had to get there to do their jobs. And then we'd hang out and have language class. And we were only allowed to speak Swahili to our host families and in class, but then in between classes when we would speak English to each other because, it's just
bad
natural that you just want to have a little break from speaking in a foreign language the whole time. And then at I want to say 9 a.m., we would have a tea break where we all break and all the classes would break. We'd meet in a central location and we'd all have chai and peanuts or popcorn, like warm peanuts or popcorn as a
That sounds
snack.
delicious.
Where were the warm peanuts coming from? Were they prepared?
They come from the elephants.
They just,
They
like,
brought them.
Are
It'd
they
be like
just,
a big bowl.
Just baking in the sun.
Like shelled?
Yeah,
they're-
shelled peanuts.
Okay.
They were delicious.
Have you ever made them?
No. I mean, I guess you would just warm them up. They're shelled, but they're I think the peanuts are different than our American peanuts. It's a different variety of peanut. But yeah, that's probably the most peanuts I've ever eaten was those 7 weeks because we eat peanuts a lot.
How's their peanut butter game?
Non-existent to my knowledge.
There's a market that you can tap into.
You'd be like, we got all these peanuts. Who's got to, mash them?
Well, they have delicious avocados in Tanzania, and they're giant. And they have delicious tomatoes and onion and cilantro. They had everything to make guacamole, but they didn't know what guacamole was. And so me and my host sister Joy were like, let us show you the magic that is guacamole. We were so excited. And we made like a dinner one night, and we were also both hankering for cheese. There's a word in Swahili for cheese, jibini, but like you can't buy cheese anywhere except for the South African like weird grocery store that's like a Western style grocery store in Arusha, but like no one shops there because that's weird to shop at a grocery store. So if you want the weird expat stuff that you're used to, that's where you go. And so we got cheese and macaroni. We made the macaroni and cheese with an appetizer of guacamole.
Wow. Heavy.
Yeah. I know, in retrospect, not the best meal.
Well, I mean, it's pretty good for what?
But they were very polite. They're like, yeah, it's good.
Wow.
What was dessert? Just a bunch of donuts?
Yeah, I don't think we made dessert.
Savory or a sweet guac?
But every night after dinner, we would have ginger tea for your digestion, and you'd like sit and we'd watch TV and drink our ginger tea. And while we were there, the World Cup was going on, and so we watched a lot of World Cup. So I learned a lot of soccer terms in Swahili at that time.
Nice.
And then we also would watch the same soap opera dubbed in Swahili, and then at school the next day, we would spend the first like couple hours at school, everyone just talking about what happened on the soap opera last night.
Was it a Turkish
all in
soap
Swahili?
opera?
The soap opera was like Spanish. It was like a telenovela.
Oh, nice. Okay. So when you say you're watching TV, you're watching these like dubbed things.
Yeah, with my so in the house it was us, my host parents, my host brother, who kind of ignored us the most of the time, but he did watch TV with us, especially the World Cup.
Was he older, younger?
He was older.
Was he hot?
He was a hot brother.
He was, I'm sure, handsome, but I was not.
You're like, I've got a guy back home.
And then our host sister Vivian, and she was high school age, and so she was with us for a little bit, but then she had to go back to school, and it was interesting. She was in like boarding school, but it was just in like Arusha, so it was like they don't come home; they like live on site, but it wasn't like she was going far away for the school. But we went and visited her at school one time. It was fun.
So you brought the gift of guacamole and mac and cheese to them.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what were some like iconic dishes that pop up for you?
My host mom was from the Mwanza area of Tanzania, where they have a lot of bananas, and so she would do fried bananas, like fried plantains, and it was the best. One thing we would have, there'd be like a lot of like a ground beef type curry, and then like I would be like eating it, and then you'd be like, when there's like that little like bone chard that happens more often.
Oh
Yeah.
no!
How are your teeth?
Okay.
But the food was like, I had delicious everything except for the only thing that I remember like being like was and I think my host mom bought them for us, like specifically were these like bright pink sausages at breakfast.
Oh.
And they were like so pink.
Oh no!
And my Joy, the other girl that was in the program with me, she was a vegetarian, which there's no word in Swahili for vegetarian. So she like called herself a vegetable person to explain it.
She was also in a coma.
So our host parents like didn't really get it, like the idea of not eating meat. So she would just like give me her meat off of her plate to eat because we didn't want to be rude.
Oh my! So what I'm hearing is you ate
A lot of these
meat.
pink sausages.
Oh, no. You should have come back swole from Tanzania. Like you were so
my
packed with
God.
protein. How'd they taste? Like
the
red
pink
food,
sausages?
Like red food dye?
Yeah, they were like, it wasn't like a hot dog and it wasn't like a sausage. I don't know. They were fine. It wasn't, and they were like frozen and then cooked. But what was really good for breakfast was ugali.
I love that word.
Oh, sorry,
Ugali.
not ugali. Ugali, sorry, it's the wrong word. Ugali is what you eat with dinner, and it looks like mashed potatoes, but it's made from cassava, but it's like really stiff.
Oh yeah, we had that at
Yeah.
the Akati in Portland.
But what was really good for breakfast was uji, which is the porridge.
What's in that porridge?
The porridge is made with
Pink sausages.
sorghum flour. And then it's kind of sweet, but it was like you would have like cream of wheat or whatever. You could put like a little sugar or whatever on it, and it was delicious. I really liked having uji in the morning.
So something that fascinates me about other cultures is their desserts. So what do we got? What do we got in Tanzania for dessert? Because in Thailand, we'd had dessert, but it was also like beans were floating around in there and noodles, and I was like, no,
Corn.
I'd like to speak to the manager, please.
I think we mostly just had fruit.
Nice.
Yeah,
And they
that
do
sounds
have
good.
a thing called mandazi, which is like a donut. It's like a fried dough ball. That's
Nice.
good. Yeah. And that's like the most. Actually, I don't really remember that much desserts.
Probably for the best. I mean, you don't really need dessert. So, also in Tanzania, so obviously in Oregon, we've got critters. We've got like raccoons and deer and things in the road. Is there ever a time where you're like, oh no, there's a water buffalo in the street. You got to swerve the short bus.
There's definitely creatures. There are monkeys. There's like the equivalent of deer.
Like a dick.
It's more like an
Antelope.
antelope. Yeah.
Oh.
But we were like in the hills. I'm trying to think. When we weren't on safari, there's like lots of zebra. Zebras are like they like you can go like hunting for zebra because it's just like whatever. Like you would go hunting for deer or whatever. And my host dad did go hunting for zebra at one point during this day. You remember him being like, "Yeah, I went out and shot a zebra this week."
Did
We're like,
you-
"Okay, Baba, that's cool." Also, my host dad, for context, was a born again Christian minister, so that's also a weird thing about it.
I'm taking a life today. Did he bring home zebra?
No, we didn't eat it.
Ugh.
Aw.
And Marco, my teacher at University of Oregon that taught us Swahili, he would always joke about how, we eat dogs. Ha 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 ha. We didn't eat any dogs while we were there. Actually, my host family had dogs, but they were like guard dogs. Like we didn't interact with the dogs.
Right. I mean, I do appreciate dogs in other countries where you're like, nope, don't touch it. Don't make eye contact. These are
Yeah, and we
street
definitely saw
dogs.
stray dogs and didn't interact with them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So was your teacher at U of O from Tanzania?
Yes. Both my main teacher Marco and his graduate student assistant Happiness, they were both from Tanzania.
I love the names.
Yeah. Which Happiness was recently, they name checked her on This American Life. They had to do like a Swahili translation. And they were like, "Thank you to Happiness Belugo." And I was like, "Oh my God, Happiness."
Wow. Aw. Did you, were you like, hey, Happiness, can you hook me up with Ira Glass?
Right?
To talk with him. So did you go to Lake Victoria?
Yes. So after my program, I met up with my friend Maddie in Nairobi, Kenya, and then we took the bus from Kenya to Uganda. We rafted the Nile, which the headwaters is Lake Victoria, and then we took a crazy bus trip from Kampala in Uganda down across the border into Tanzania, and then took the ferry across Lake Victoria over to Mwanza.
That's crazy. Okay, so like for context for people listening, Lake Victoria, largest lake in Africa. It is also the largest tropical lake in the world, and just like this massive body of water. Obviously, also crocodiles and hippos are in there. So did you see any?
Didn't see any hippos. Hippos, other than mosquito, #1 killer in Africa. But they look so cute. I think we might have seen a crocodile while we were rafting the Nile, but like our raft guy was like joking about it all the time. So I don't know. I'm trying to remember if we did actually see one or if he was just like, "Oh, crocodile, watch out," to like freak us out.
So did you kind of spend most of your time like in the northeastern part of Tanzania for the most part?
Yeah, we stayed in Arusha, and then we did like a big trip to Dar es Salaam for a couple of days on the coast, and then we went over to Zanzibar on a terrible boat trip to get over to the island. But Zanzibar is gorgeous.
Describe why that boat trip was terrible.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So on the boat trip, I'm trying to think of how big the boat was. There had to be at least 100 people on the boat. But it was a really choppy day on the water and I think it was like a 3-hour boat trip. And it was just like you were doing these huge crests up and down in this boat. And everyone was throwing up all around you. So then you were like, oh no, I'm going to throw up. Which of course you did, because it's like when you smell it. And so we're all just like getting sick for like 3 hours.
Oh, God.
So
going to paradise.
So were you a victim of the vomit?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
It was rough.
Jessica has a weak stomach.
Did you feed the fishes? Was everyone just like, was it overboard?
No, because it was so much like turbulence. I think we were like in our seats, like holding on, because it was like clunk,
Wait, so where did you vomit?
I think they passed around like vomit bags or whatever, because like
Like
literally everyone was
one communal vomit.
No, like everyone had their own individual,
It's
like
the
on
end
an
of
airplane.
Like on an
Catholic
airplane.
Catholic mass. They're passing it around the collection.
Well, that would leave quite an impression.
Yeah, and we were like, oh, and then I think Rahel, she was like, she knew she was living in Chicago, but originally she was from Tanzania, and her family was from Tanzania, but she was on part of our group. And she's like, I'm just gonna fly. I'll meet you guys there. And afterwards, we're like, now we know why Rahel just to pay for a flight.
Oh God!
But then you took a boat later to leave, right?
Yeah, one of the ways it was fine, and then the other way was bad.
You weren't like risking it. Like, my abs feel kind of strong after like hurling so much for 3
I
hours
think it was
straight.
just a choppy day on the Indian Ocean.
Oh God! So you said so going to paradise. So you loved Zanzibar.
Yes.
So Zanzibar, island off the coast. You said it's about 3 hours away, like several miles. There's like a channel between the mainland and Zanzibar.
Right.
Okay.
And it's not that far, from you take it from Dar es Salaam across. And it's the Spice Island. It's very Muslim. Everyone, a lot of headscarves. And it's also like where Italians go on vacation to like wear their like Speedos and walk around the beach. So it's like a very interesting contrast of like the local people who are
A lot of clothes and not enough.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. It's like if you're like people here go to the Caribbean. In Italy, they go to Zanzibar.
Interesting, specifically Italy.
Yeah, there was a lot of Italian tourists. I don't know why specifically Italy.
Maybe cheap flight.
Well, okay, so one of and this, you might have learned this, one of the things that stood out to me reading about Tanzania, and I love this fact, it's so bizarre, but it's also like, that's like, it's a world history bizarre. So apparently in like the early 1800s, the Sultan of Oman put the capital of Oman in Zanzibar, in Stone Town. And so it went from Muscat, I'm not pronouncing that right, and he was like, oh, we don't need the capital in Oman anymore. It's now in Zanzibar. So what's up with that?
That's how great Zanzibar is. Stone Town's actually really cool. I thought your fun fact was that Freddie Mercury was born there, and yes, he was.
Oh! Well, that fun fact is significantly better.
And you can see a plaque on the building. It's like Freddie Mercury was born here. Which is very random. But it's beautiful architecture, beautiful doors. All the doors are amazing. I took so many pictures of Doors.
The band, right? The Doors, since we're going in like
Jim Morrison,
rock.
It's just like ornate. And the beaches are gorgeous, and it's a spice island, so you could get like any kind of spice you want.
Did you load up on spices when you were there?
Yes, and I still have like Greg's like, these are probably bad now because I'm like, but it's like from my trip. I don't want to use it.
So what kind of spices were you bringing?
Yeah.
I got like a bag of saffron for like, it was not expensive. I don't know why it was so cheap other than, it was crazy. But then I also got like cloves, and then I got some like ground spices like Zanzibar pilau mix or whatever.
Those are definitely bad.
Yeah.
So was it like a market, like just like open, like here's like mounds of spice, like you're great. What spice would you like?
Yeah, there was definitely markets of spices, and then they have like for tourists the packets and things.
Right.
And then we went on a farm tour of like where they like get all the spices.
Okay, what's
And
a
so you see.
spice farm like?
It's really cool and beautiful. I wish I had my notes with me right now because I have like a whole section about the spice tour like in my thing, and I have like a little piece of like cotton or something like glued into my keepsake notebook I wrote about this whole trip. But yeah, they like climbed crazy trees to like show us things, and it was right near the coast, and I think we ended after the spice tour, went to the beach, and they climbed up palm trees and got us coconuts, like crushed green coconuts. And that was the first time I've ever had like coconut milk fresh from a green coconut. I was like blown away.
So good.
Yeah.
Did an Italian do that for you?
No, definitely.
Shimmied his naked little body up there.
And you find out that like you're not after the brown fuzzy coconuts. That's
yeah, no, it's like the green coconut.
Mm-hmm.
The brown ones are not so good. And then also they grow like kelp in the ocean, and there's like I don't remember what they were doing with it, but that was like one of the ways of bringing like development for like women in the community, was like this like kelp farming initiative.
Wow. So I speaking of like giving women opportunities, so Tanzania, relatively poor country, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you see a lot of that? Like that just insane like poverty?
Yes, and we did have like a field trip out to like an actual like village out in the middle where you have like a very rustic house, and like see how these people live and like what they need, and like these are the types of places you see on like TV when they're like, give to this poor orphan, blah blah blah. But these people are also very happy, and they're living their lives, and it's part of their culture. And I mean, obviously they have been ravaged by colonialism, and there's a lot of things going wrong, but I mean, it's still not like, it's just so hard with Africa, I feel like, because people have like a certain idea of what it's like, but it's not quite like that. And I feel like my takeaway from being there was, you know, like we need to let the Tanzanians support Tanzanians helping Tanzanians, and try to like take away all these like churches coming in for like a weekend and do one little thing, and then it's not sustainable in that kind of way. But yeah, I mean, it definitely was probably the most poverty I've ever seen in my life, but I have a very privileged life.
Well, something that I had read was like maybe, and this is like on Britannica, so it was like, oh, the average annual income in Tanzania is like $250.
Yeah.
Do you think that's accurate?
Yeah, I mean, there's like, even just like walking to my host family's house, you would go through people who had like coffee plants, like, and they're like, oh yeah, this is like, we like, and then you would see them like drying the coffee or whatever, but they're not selling that coffee for that much really. And like, that's one of their like sources of income. And this is like on the edges of a big city in Tanzania. And so, yeah, you're just doing whatever you can to survive. And then going to like the market, and you're seeing all the like old clothes from America that they're selling for people to wear, and the like aftermarket of all these things. It's very interesting.
Did you see any of like, the has-beens from sports teams? Because that's a big thing. Because obviously during like the NBA finals or the Super Bowl, like they have both of those clothes made, and they're like, well, the losers teams gets like shipped out to third world countries, where you walk around and you like, if people are like, who were the Chicago Bulls? I only know like the Blazers won the, the 1990 like championship.
Yeah, I don't think my level of sports knowledge would have been able to like call out like, they didn't win that year.
I want those clothes so bad, Jessica.
Right? Did you buy anything, like any old, I don't know, old clothes from America?
I didn't buy any American clothes because it's like, why would I?
Totally.
Well, I did go to a mall when I was in. We were in Dar es Salaam, and we like went to the university, and then we were supposed to go to like 2 museums and somewhere else, and somehow we got like delayed, and we missed the museums or whatever. So then they just like pulled over at this like mall, and they were like, okay, you guys, you have like 20 minutes at this mall, and then we're like going. And we thought it was like culture shock going to that mall after like just living our like simple, not like simple. I mean, like, again, like I had a pretty nice house I was living in. But it was just, yeah, crazy to be like in the context of a mall. It felt so foreign at that point. So me and my friend were like, we have to buy something at this mall. And so I bought us like a skirt, or no, a dress, a polka dot button up dress that had like little fluoros that I'm sure was made in like China or something. But it was brand new from like a boutique in the mall. I think that's the only like Western style clothes. I had clothes made in Tanzania at the Fundi. And then I haggled for all the school kids in Tanzania have uniforms. And that's another place you can tell the poorness, because these uniforms, even though everyone has uniforms, the state of the uniform and how holy and unravelly they are really varies based off of the child. But they, a lot of the kids have these cute sweaters that look like the Tanzanian flag.
Oh, nice.
And I saw one at the market and I haggled. I had to really haggle for it, which in retrospect, like, I should have just paid him the money, right? But I was like, no, because you just get in this mindset, like you readjust your like expectations of how much things should cost.
Right.
And so you're like, I know you're trying to rip me off right now.
Totally.
So I ended up haggling with the guy for like 15 minutes at least. But I bought a sweater,
Wow.
a scarf, and a matching hat that's like what a Tanzanian school child would have. But it's like all Tanzania flag. It's amazing.
Adorable. And why aren't you wearing it today?
Oh yeah, because it was so cold today.
Do you still have it all?
Yes, the hat's like teeny tiny.
Because it's for a child.
I know.
So, I mean, it feels like you were pretty confident in your Swahili while you were over there.
I was in certain contexts. In other contexts, like being dropped off at an elementary school to teach a lesson to the school kids on Swahili, which, I mean, first, like you would teach English in English. Like, it's insane. So I had a lesson plan. The teacher really, like, did not help me at all. It was really tough. At the end of the day, she was like, Jessica, you need to move here for a full year before you can say that you even speak Swahili. Like, she was so down on my Swahili. And I was like, I'm sorry. Then shortly after that, they took us to a high school to debate the local high school debate team. It was club day at the high school. And so they were like, oh yeah, it'll just be you and the debate club. All the other kids will be doing their clubs. It was like out of a movie. We get to the high school, the gates open, and it's like a sea of high school students all sitting there waiting for us.
Waiting to pounce. Fresh blood.
And we're like, what's going on? And they get there. They're like, well, we thought the debate would be too loud, so we canceled all the other clubs so that you guys could debate in front of the entire school.
Oh my God.
All right.
And we had to debate the merits of like a man being the head of a household versus like the women. Like, it was like a feminist like versus like
You took the
argument.
contrarian point, right? Yeah, the man should be.
I can't remember which. I think we were on the pro women side. But like we were split up. So half of our team were high school students from the school. So we had people on both sides, both debating, but we were competing. And our side did win, the pro-feminist side.
All right.
And I was like terrified the whole time that I was gonna have to talk in Swahili in front of these kids. Like, it was like all the Swahili was like disappearing from my mind. But then we were going too long, and they stopped the debate before I had to go up and speak. So I was
no.
so that was like a crazy situation. But like going to the fundi, which is like the tailor, and telling her exactly what I wanted made out of the fabric, I felt very comfortable doing that. Or like going to the market and like buying food, or like bargaining, like those types of skills, or just being like having a conversation. We're like, hey, how are you? Like in Swahili or in Tanzania, but in Swahili in general, this like I think in Africa probably overall, you know, the greeting process is very extensive, where you're really expected to like really go through a long greeting before even like talking about anything. Like, you really have to be like, hey, how are you? Good. How's your house? Good. How's your family? Good. Like, you really need to go through that kind of formality, or else you're rude.
Oh no. Oh, that's great.
So things like that I had a lot of practice, so I was better at. And then like trying to describe like a debate, like that thing. And at the end of the program, they certified me as advanced speaking skills. But
Did you go back to that elementary school teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
be like,
said,
here's my
"Hey."
certificate. I'm not so bad. But during our final interview, for like our thing, I somehow was able to kind of move the conversation towards going to a tailor and ordering. So I think she was very impressed by that, and she was like, "Yeah, advanced Swahili skills," but I don't think I had advanced.
I have
Swahili
control.
skills.
I'm under control of this situation. We're gonna talk about my outfit.
But it was funny because then Swahili spoken in Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. That's what they teach you.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go to Kenya and you say,
Jumbo.
Hajambo, yeah, habarigani. And the cab driver's like, I'm good. How are you doing? And you're like, Uko wapi? And they're like, oh, I'm from. And they're just like speaking English. Go to Uganda. Hey, same thing. They're like, yeah, I'll speak English back to you. So they understand the Swahili. Just speak English back to you. They're never speaking Swahili. Then you finally get back into Tanzania and you speak Swahili. They're like so excited that you speak Swahili. They're speaking Swahili with you. And you're like, yes, I'm home again.
But Tanzania is a huge country. I mean, you told me it's
Allegedly, the size of 2 Californias. It's like 1.36 times larger than Texas. So
like
quite
the
land mass.
yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, that's all I had to say about that, I guess.
So, right. Big land mass. So something that I saw about Tanzania is that they have saved like a quarter of all of the land in Tanzania. They've set it aside in this extensive network of reserves, conservation areas, and national parks. So a quarter of that enormous country is that.
I mean, the Serengeti is huge.
So is it mostly contained within Tanzania?
What do you mean?
Like the
The
Serengeti?
Serengeti.
Oh, yeah, the national park of the Serengeti. So if you want to go to the Serengeti, you go to Mwanza. That's like your access point. When I went on safari, we went to Ngorongoro Crater, which is like a volcano crater, like this huge
Is that the
giant
largest
crater.
caldera in the world? I saw something about that.
I don't know. Possibly.
Okay, cool.
I mean, it was huge. And then like all the animal life is like inside the crater.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like protected.
But like my host mom, the idea of like a zoo was like horrifying to her. She was like, animals need to be out and about. Like the idea that we would have these like beautiful animals like locked up in cages and everything. And even we're like, oh no, the elephants have like a couple acres. Like I don't know how many acres they have at the Oregon Zoo.
Right.
It's like good for a zoo, but not like being out there. And then when you go on safari and you're like literally like you just like stop your car and like a lion's just like hanging out there and there's like nothing stopping you from getting out of that car.
But I want to pet it.
You're just like on your own. You're just like driving around. It's like, I mean, it's kind of like going to Yellowstone. You're just like, there's buffalo everywhere. Like you could like, don't touch the bison. That's a bad idea. But like people will go up and do it.
Wow.
I remember we were driving in Ngorongoro Crater. We got there early in the morning and it was like really foggy. And the driver like stops at this like what is clearly supposed to be a viewpoint. He's like, yes, you can see the entire crater from here. And it's just like a sheet of white. Like we can't see anything. And we're like, okay, cool. And then we keep driving and then we're driving. And then all of a sudden out of the mist, there's just a giraffe. And we're like, oh my God.
Scary.
Wow.
Yeah.
So going on safari, does that just mean like you hire someone to drive you around like the roads in this national park?
Yeah. So the national park, I believe, is free if you're Tanzanian. You can go. And like my host parents had been multiple times. Like you just drive your car. But you know, if you're a white person or wazungu, or any expat type person, a visitor, a tourist,
Right.
you're probably going to hire a company. Our school didn't hire an actual safari guide. We just had our teachers drive us around. And they're like, yeah, we think we know the good places to go. So it wasn't the most professional safari. But we had a good time and we just used the school buses. But the roads are like so terrible. Like you're like gung, 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 like bouncing. Like every time we would like stop to get out to like eat or something, we are like you still feel like you were vibrating because you'd been vibrating for so long.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All the roads in Tanzania or specifically the national parks?
I will say most of the roads in Tanzania. Also, like, even just like the main highway, like paved roads, there'll be like 2-lane roads, but they function as 3-lane roads, and that one extra direction, there's always a car driving down the middle.
It's a game of chicken.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. And one of the girls in my program, she ended up living there for a year, so she bought a car towards the end of our thing. That was crazy. And we're like, Megan, I can't believe you're gonna drive here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did she sell it before she left, or she?
Yeah, I think so. She's back in the States now. She had a great time.
Wow.
Well, good.
Well, I want to go back to the safari. So, I mean, I'm a big, like, I like animals. So, like, what animal did you see? Did you see them all, like, on your safaris?
We saw the big 5. Oof,
Ooh.
do I remember what the big 5 is?
Isn't it like
Giraffe.
Giraffe, Twiga. That's giraffe in Swahili.
okay, lion?
Lion, Simba.
But
It is Simba in Swahili?
Yeah, it's Simba.
Man, I should have known that.
Wow.
Wow. Yikes.
original Diz. And I'm going to use their name.
Elephant, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Tembo.
Is wildebeest or water buffalo? Is it
Yeah,
water buffalo?
I think so.
Rhino? mean,
Yeah, I
rhinos
did
are-
not see a rhino because they are super endangered. I think there was only like 5 rhinos left in Ngorongoro Crater,
Wow.
so we didn't see any.
Dang.
But let's see. I think we saw hyenas.
Were they hilarious?
So funny. The lion pride we saw, you just saw like the giant male lion with his huge thing, just like
His
stretched out.
his huge thing.
Sorry.
Jessica, this is
Mane.
this is a family podcast.
This is a children's
His mane.
podcast.
and his mighty schlong. What's
I
schlong?
didn't see that, but he was like taking a nap. But then
His huge thing. Does Lion King, the Disney movie, take place in Tanzania?
the animators, I believe, went to Tanzania or Kenya.
And the Kilimanjaro is featured in Circle of Life. So
Yeah.
wow.
And they say the Serengeti in the song.
I didn't know the Serengeti was in Tanzania. See, I'm Africa stupid.
Serengeti might extend into Kenya as well. I can't remember.
But still, you're like in the area. Like I feel like you're in this like very iconic, at least in terms of like what we perceive as like the most spectacular parts of Africa in the West. I feel like you were just kind of in this like epicenter and experienced.
Oh
all
yeah,
of them.
also the Cradle of Humanity.
Okay.
And Olduvai Gorge, that's where they Leakeys found Lucy, Australopithecus, the missing link.
Yeah,
It's crazy. So like all of humanity
Wow.
came basically from the Great Rift Valley in Tanzania.
Wow. Fantastic. Okay, well this is all very good. So I'm curious if there's something that you wish that like the average person, the average like American or maybe our average listener wish that they knew like about Tanzania.
Wish that they knew. I don't know that it's a country in Africa. I feel like the average person, and people will say like countries in Europe, and they'll be like in Africa, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
Right.
it's like a huge area. Like East Africa is very different from West Africa. There's not like a lot of like the what we think of like African dancing here. Like that's not really in East Africa. Or like the drumming, that's like a very West African. Like so I feel like people, I guess we in America kind of have like a mishmash of like South Africa, East Africa, and West Africa all together, and like that culture doesn't really exist. You have to like learn about the local culture. I feel like my advice for someone going to East Africa would be to try to learn some Swahili before you go, because people will be so appreciative and they'll be like so excited that you're even trying to speak Swahili. And they're so welcoming and kind and just happy to, interact and have a good time with you. When I was there, Obama was in office. People were really excited to tell you that we're related to Obama. Everyone's related to Obama.
I love that so much.
So, like, what surprised you the most, do you think, from this trip?
It was interesting. People talk about culture shock, and I didn't experience it when I got there. I think maybe because I was expecting everything to be different, so it wasn't like a crazy culture shock. There was one person on our trip that ended up leaving, I think after 1 week, because she couldn't handle it, which I was like, couldn't relate to at that point. I was like, yeah, we're here. What do you mean you want to leave? But coming home, I had crazy culture shock. And the biggest culture shock was the amount of things that we have in plastic here in the United States. And I like couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, everything's in plastic. And it like really weirded me out. And I couldn't go to big places like malls in the US for like months after coming back from Tanzania. Like I remember I don't remember what I wanted to get from the mall, but I went and I walked in and I walked out and I was like, not today. So I wasn't expecting that. In Tanzania, like I said, Marco, our teacher, was a character. And he is a character. It's not like Tanzania is a country of Marcos. But certain things about Marco did make more sense in the context of being in Tanzania. And so I feel like there are certain things that you just don't know until you go to the place and you actually experience it for yourself. And talk to a bunch of different people and, just see it.
Well, I think you have given so much positive advice, positive stories about Tanzania. Like, you don't have to worry about like giving anybody like a nugget of wisdom to go with, because this whole interview has been full of them. But I'm curious for you personally, is there something from those 8 weeks that you experienced that you still carry with you, or something that you learned that you just kind of keep with you, whether other people know that or you just like it's something that stayed with you?
I mean, I think just the experience of living in a third world country and having day-to-day interactions with also the of being a minority, even though I'm still, what do I want to say, not high class, but like obviously white people are, it's not like being a minority in America as a brown person, but I'd never really been in a place where like I'm the odd one out. I'm the person that's very obviously doesn't belong in this place. And I think having that experience is really important for just empathy in general, of being in a location that's not, you're not fully comfortable, and anyone just looking at you knows that you don't quote unquote belong there. And I think just taking that through my life and giving me empathy for different situations, I think it really expanded my way I thought about things in the world.
I think it's just like so beautiful. I wish that American imperialism wasn't so powerful that like young people didn't feel like they were encouraged to like go out to countries where they were the minority. I feel like, oftentimes people are like, oh, go to Europe. My people are from there. And it's so impressive when we were in places like Southeast Asia, and you just kept seeing Australians everywhere you went. They're like, yeah, mate, we got to get out of here. You got to get out of here.
What?
I am from Australia. Don't you know? And so it's something like that is like really impressive to me. And I thank Katie for giving me that opportunity, because I was going to live under a rock. I mean, the most exotic place I was planning on going was like New York City or Japan. And that's like, those are both pretty big cop-outs, I think.
We met lots of Australians in Tanzania.
Dude, the
course
Aussies,
you did.
I mean,
They're everywhere.
I do think that that's the thing, is like, as soon as you hit like 18 or whatever, it's like you will leave. You will take at least one trip, if not, many.
But all the Australians, they talk like this, don't
we gotta
they?
get Jordan to Australia so he can figure out the accent.
Yeah, it sounds a little bit like this. They wear a lot of tartan, I hear.
Well, did Jessica convince you?
Absolutely. Before we leave you, Jessica, I do have to ask, was there a very embarrassing like faux pas or experience that you had?
Yeah, I mean, the teaching at the school was embarrassing. I'm trying to think of a specific one. There's a lot of awkward situations.
We talked about that bus ride.
Oh yeah, the bus ride. So we were in Kampala. We needed to get to I can't remember the name of the town, but the town that takes the overnight ferry to Mwanza across Lake Victoria in Tanzania. And we went to the bus depot where there's all the buses. We're walking around. Hey, is there a bus to this place? And they're like, no. Then they're like, point to this like, I mean, all the buses are more or less unmarked, but this one was like really unmarked. Like no signage at all of where this bus was going. We're like, hey, is this bus going to this town? And they're like, oh yeah, here you go, here's your ticket. And we like buy the ticket. We get on the bus. It has like all the seats are like full, but there's these giant bags of like flour or some other like white substance like all down the center aisle.
Cocaine.
And then they flip over this tiny seat over the top of that. And we're sitting in the middle aisle of the bus on a seat that the back is like, I don't know, like 4 inches high. And so that's all thing. So then we're on that bus for about 7 hours. And I think probably like the last, we were at least 6 hours and people finally start getting off the bus so we can finally get to like a full seat, and that feels luxurious. You're like, whoa, a full back? Who am I?
Empathy.
Again, me and my friend Maddie were the only 2 white people on this bus. So there are like women and men and like children. And, you know, as we stop, you like, and you're hungry, there's like people selling food outside the window. You just like give them the money, you get your water bottles, your food. That's like your sustenance during this 7-hour ordeal. And we get to the border with Tanzania, and they're like, okay, so this is where you get off, and over there you'll find a dala, and then that will take you to, and I'm like, oh, so this bus doesn't go to the town that we need to go to. They're like, yeah, no, the bus, that's the bus over there. But like, okay, thank you so much, Uganda. So then we like go through the customs, and the Uganda custom people are like not very friendly, and they're like, and this is a tiny like, it's not a heavily tourist, obviously there's not a lot of buses going. We were not on the beaten path. I didn't realize how far off the beaten path we were, but we were not on the beaten path. So we go through and we're like, okay, bye Uganda. And then we like walk across to the little like building to get like our Tanzania entry visa. And we like walk in and we're like, Ojambo. And they're like, Ojambo. And then we're like,
expect that.
And then we're like, oh my God, it's Swahili again. And then we're like, oh, Tanzania. Like, so we're like excited. Maddie immediately makes like good friends because Maddie's super fluent in Swahili at that point because she'd been living there for a year. I talked to them for like a while. They like stamp our things. They're like so excited to welcome us back. And we're like so excited to be welcomed back. We go over to the Dala, which is like, that's like public transportation, are these like basically like minivans that will have like a spray painted picture of Obama on the side or whatever it ends up being. And then you like pay the guy your money to get on it, and then you go as far, and you know, that's like, it's not like official public transportation, but it is public transportation. So we go over and get in the car, and they're like putting like new tires in the back of the van, and we're like, that's weird. We get in the bus. There's only one other person in there, and it's a Maasai who's Maasai are very distinctive. You can see they're like they always have like their tartan like blanket wrapped around their. Maasai are very tall, and they are oftentimes hired to be like guards or security if they're like in like the cities or whatever.
Are they like an ethnic minority in Tanzania?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're one of the ethnic groups. I think they're one of the larger ethnic groups in Kenya and Tanzania. They're very known. They're like traditionally a herder culture.
Okay.
They like herd cattle, and they but they're also known as warriors, the Maasai, which is why they're like in security. So we like this guy, and we're like, hey, hi Maasai, like, what's your name? Like, get to talk to him, meet him. The bus is like slowly filling up. This like older gentleman comes in. Maddie starts talking to him. He's like, oh, you're my daughter now. And he like gives us nicknames, invites us over for dinner. Then we start like, finally we get on our way. I look around. We're not only the only white people on this bus, but the only women. Everyone else are men. We're like, this is an interesting turn of events, but we've befriended the Maasai. We've befriended this older gentleman. I feel safe.
Now your dad.
Yeah, and he's inviting us over to meet his wife and have dinner at his house. So we're like, okay. We finally get to the town, and I think this is common in a lot of third world countries. When you get out, people are immediately hounding you. Taxi, taxi, taxi. Mm-hmm. Do you need this? Do you need this? And you're like, it's like very overwhelming. You get kind of used to it, but it is still like, it's just like a lot. Mm-hmm. So we get out, and they're like, taxi, taxi, taxi. And the Maasai, I don't know, he just gives them a look like they're with me, and they like disappear. It was crazy.
like Thanos snaps them away, turn to dust.
Yeah, and we're like, okay. We're like, thanks. And he's like, where are you guys going? We're like, we're going over to the ferry. And he's like, I'll walk you over. We're like, oh, thank you. And so we like just walk through town.
With that escort.
And like, yeah, with like an escort. And like people like white girls, but also like the Maasai. Like they're giving us like different looks. We're like, okay. We get to the thing. We had called like a travel agency to like book our ferry tickets. We meet them. They're like, here's your tickets. They're third class tickets. We're like, where's our first class tickets? Like, they're like, they were out of first class tickets. We're like, the whole reason we contacted you was to get the first class tickets. They're like, yeah, no. All they have is third class tickets.
Wow.
And Maddie proceeds to like argue for like 20 minutes with the guy to try to get us first class tickets. We don't get first class tickets. We're like, guess we're third class. So we get on the boat. Third class is like the Titanic. It's like you're like in a 3-level cot situation. Like, well, there's like bananas everywhere. Like
This
Bananas?
shit is bananas.
yeah, like bushels of bananas just like everywhere. And so we go up to the first class lounge because like they're not gonna stop us from going to the first class lounge. So we like go into the first class lounge. We have a good time. We meet this guy. He asks for one of my bracelets. I give it to him. I immediately regret the decision.
Oh no.
I'm like, why did I give him the new bracelet that I bought? Such a people pleaser. It's one of my regrets. And then and then we like go and it's like getting dark and we're like, well, I guess we gotta go find our bed in the third class. So we like try to leave the first class area. There's like locked gates.
Oh.
Oh no.
And we're like, so then we had to find like a guard and be like, sorry, we're not first class. We snuck in here. We need to get down to third class. And they're like, what? And we're like, we know. Yes, we're third class.
I need to go back to the bananas.
And so they like open it up. We go in.
and I'm gonna need that
Yeah.
bracelet back.
And so like
from that guy.
and the bunks are like, so it's like a 3-level bunk bed, like bolted to the wall in like a room where there's probably like 4 sets of 3 bunk beds. Like it's a lot.
Wow.
And then there's just like a little sheet. And that's your bedding. That's it. I don't know what the first class accommodations were like where you slept. The lounge was very nice.
Wow.
And so we like climbed up into our little bunk beds, pulled our sheets over, fell asleep in the rocking waves of Lake Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
Woke up, got to Mwanza. We like look up our things. I realized I booked my tickets to go back to Zanzibar for the wrong day.
No.
And we had to spend an extra day in Mwanza, and I wasn't able to go back to Zanzibar, and it was very disappointing. And
Oh, so like you weren't able to go at all?
because I'd been before, but we were
Yeah.
gonna do a final couple. I was gonna end on like the beaches of Zanzibar and then fly
Dang.
home. That didn't happen. We
You
hung
just
out
wanted to go look at Italians, you sicko.
in Mwanza, which is the second largest city in Tanzania, and of which, when you look up your guidebook in Tanzania, there are 3 things that it highlights to do in Mwanza. That's it. There's not much going on. It's very commerce heavy. It's a lot of Chinese people there building the roads.
Wow.
Whoa.
But I had delicious Chinese food on Lake Victoria and proceeded to get eaten alive by mosquitoes the next day. And that's how I ended my trip to Tanzania. Also, my other tip for Tanzania, just to end, is if you raft the Nile, don't tell the guide you want to have an adventure because he'll tip you over every rapid and you'll swallow a lot of water
The Nile.
and then you'll get a parasite and have to get medication for the parasite when you get home.
Well,
That is
way to go out with a bang.
what a souvenir. That's what
what
you
a
have.
badass.
Wow. Well, Jessica, thank you so much for taking us on such an adventure in Tanzania where Lion King may or may not be from.
I feel like we definitely
Also,
confirmed
Rafiki
that.
means friend.
Wow.
So many words.
I feel like great. This has been very educational.
Well, so the next time you go back, do you plan on ever going back to Tanzania?
I do want to go back, and I want to go back to Uganda or Rwanda and go on a mountain safari to see the gorillas.
Oh, dang. Do you have anything else like on a theoretical bucket list on your return trip besides more parasites?
Yeah, besides more parasites. Yeah, definitely the mountain. Like, I'd rather go see the gorillas than go on a mountain safari because that's also like camping and hiking than like climb Kilimanjaro. But I would also love to Kilimanjaro. But gotta divvy out your time. And then I probably would go back to Zanzibar for sure. And then
But you missed out last.
so such a bummer. And then also the food was so good in Zanzibar. Like the seafood was really good.
Well seasoned, I imagined.
Yeah. And then I would probably go back to Arusha just for old time's sake.
Do you think your host family's still there?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I would go to Baba's church.
See if he's killed any more zebra. See how many heads he has
That church was crazy.
mounted on the wall.
I have so many stories now. I'm like, one of the last services we went to at the church. Again, this is a born again Christian church, which they were pretty chill.
I mean, like you had to go, right?
Yeah,
was it
I mean,
optional?
we didn't like I was fine to go, and Joy, who was Rosh Hashani, she just converted, and she was reading the Quran while we were there. She was very into religion in general,
Nice.
so she was like fine to go too. And so we didn't like push back. So I don't know if they would have. I think Baba was actually like a pretty chill guy. So I think if we really didn't want to go, they wouldn't have made us go. But
That's
we
nice
were
that you
like,
did.
yeah, it's part of our family, and it's like nice. And again, like the people at the church were more pushy. Our host family was like, we don't care. They were like, have you been born again? Like the church
Yeah.
people, and we're like, and I was like, no, I'm Catholic, I'm good. They're like, They're like, that's not good. I'm like, sorry. But so one of the final ones, they had a guest, like minister. Is it a minister?
Barack Hussein Obama.
Come. And it was a really intense one where people spoke in tongues and like fainted, and like it was like a full like revival style. Also, the
Whoa.
church, to paint a picture, was just like a giant tent in Arusha.
Perfect.
Like a permanent tent, like a really nice big tent, but it wasn't like a building. Like they didn't have money for a building. But yeah, so that was like, we were like, oh, so this is like really getting the full cultural experience of the born again Christian here. Yeah. So that was quite the experience.
How freaked out were you?
It was almost more freaky because at that point we had gotten to know a lot of people in the congregation, and you're like, this is a nice person, and then now you're just seeing them like speak in tongues, and you're like, wow, this is really happening. This is crazy.
Jeez.
As opposed to like just like strangers doing it, where you're like, well, who knows what's going on over there?
Yeah.
Wow.
Aw. Well, I'm excited for you to go back and for you to be fully converted
Yeah.
next time you go.
Be baptized.
Wow. Well, Jessica, thank you for the generosity of sharing your experiences with us and our dear readers at home. And I think just like giving us so much more information about Tanzania. And
Does that bother you that he keeps saying readers?
I feel like, well,
it's a bit.
It's a
they
bit.
call them readers on Las Culturistas, the podcast. You're in
Oh, no.
Bowen Yang's footsteps.
Wow.
I don't want to be
So
in
original.
Bowen needs to be in my footsteps. Meh. Thank you so much. You have painted a completely different picture of East Africa for me because I just never really consider it. And so I feel like
I've been like talking about going to Africa for a while now, so I feel like this has been very enlightening and hopefully motivating.
and now I just need to get my Speedo out for Zanzibar.
And some shots.
Yeah.
Like shots
we
of
didn't really talk about safety.
Will you want to throw that in?
That's for next time. We'll talk about safety next time.
Who cares about safety,
This
Jessica?
is about stories and misadventures.
Yeah, it's about fun.
Hey, the
And
state
bus rides.
the State Department of the U.S. only gives it a 2, so we're fine. Just use increased precaution and don't drink the Nile.
Solid.
Well, we're gonna let you go, Jessica, and maybe we'll have you back on sometime. So thank you again.
Thank you guys.
How do you say thank you in Swahili? This is a test.
Karibu. No, that's you're welcome. Oh my God.
Hey, we are welcome. Hajamba.
Asante sana.
Asante sana to you.
Aw, that's nice.
So, Katie, how bad do you want to go to Tanzania now?
I have wanted to go ever since Jessica went.
Oh, did you have like some travel envy?
Yeah,
Envy?
some
wanderlust.
Some FOMO. And hearing all about it just confirmed that. But see, I've been wanting to go, and I think, how bad did it make you want to go?
You know, I did want to go. The problem is with some of my travel desires is language does get in the way because we have such a desire to communicate, and I think that hindered us a little bit when we were in Mexico. Was like, oh, like there were some opportunities to have like really great conversations, but like our language was limited. And hearing from Jessica that the people of Tanzania were just stoked out of their minds if you spoke even a little Swahili. I'd be like, I want to help. I want to make you guys happy.
Okay, but with that, I mean, do you regret going to Mexico?
No.
Because you weren't able to fully communicate?
No.
Right. You know what I mean? Where it's like, yeah, obviously, ideally, we would be fluent in every language.
Hey, that's is that a Star Trek thing? Do they have like a translating thing?
I wouldn't know. You won't let me watch it.
Hey, may the force be with you.
Sure.
Hey, Katie, do you want to continue this this like exploring thing that we got going on?
Yeah, I think we should keep exploring.
For Ashland!
Oh my God, we're finally going to Ashland.
Ashland!
God.
How proud are you?
10.
It is dry.
Do we hear him like a moaning dog in the background?
Yeah, we don't even have a dog. Because our dog is clearly very excited to go with us.
To Ashland!
So you said there's a bunch of little fuzzies on
There's
your
little fuzzies on my mic, but not the mic, the little filter.
pop filter.
Pop goes my heart